Tonight, we are going to discuss smoke alarms. And, I have so many times been where the smoke alarm would just do that stupid, annoying,
Beep, 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 beep,
yeah, and you're like,
beep.
or, chirp, and you're like, where is that? And you walk around looking all the time for it. It's just insanity. Sets in by the time you finally find it, don't you?
Especially if you have more than one in your house and you're trying to figure out, you're trying to run and find the one, but it's quit beeping, so then you can't. So, yeah. Hey, Caitlin.
Hey, Caitlin. Glad you're with Waylon. That's awesome. So yeah, we want to talk a little bit about what smoke alarms are and what they do, and
this is going to pertain to marriage.
it will be. Let's hope somehow we can tie it into marriage a little bit. That's our plan anyway. So, but yeah, smoke alarms can be very annoying, and no matter how they're meant to be annoying or not, I don't think that's the purpose of putting that stupid little beep.
No.
It's mainly there to protect us, right?
To make us aware that something is not right.
I like the word aware. Mm-hmm. Good choice.
I love the word
That's
aware.
why I keep her around. I mean, she uses better words than me. She practices her words more than I do.
I practice my words every day.
So, yeah, they're to make us aware. They're to help protect us. I know when we were doing the inspections on this house, the first thing they do is go around, make sure all the smoke alarms work. Their next thing was you need to change all the batteries in your smoke alarms so you don't get that annoying chirp.
Which you didn't do.
I didn't. It was good advice, though. It's kind of like us on this thing here. We give somebody decent advice, but you don't have to do it.
Maybe another day. Yeah.
So, if they're meant to do that, if they're meant to give us the warnings or the awareness, then how do we deal with those things? And ideally, we install our smoke alarms, and then through regular maintenance that we were just talking about, then we're able to
trust those.
To trust those, and they don't become annoying because we maintain them regularly. And if we do that, then we're able to kind of forget about the smoke alarms until the next time comes around. That's where you would come in and say, "Hey, Grant, I got it on my calendar. It's time to change the smoke alarms."
And you would say, "Okay," and then I might another week later say, "Hey, Grant,
right.
check the smoke alarm."
As you're taking the trash out finally, would you please check the smoke alarms? She's kind of mean to me.
No, it is. I mean, I think, it's again, when you think about, you can probably already see how that's going to relate to marriage here. There's so many things. There's not so many. There's really, in each marriage, there's probably a few things that are triggers, and there are things that you have to watch out for.
Right.
I don't think you can assign the same things to every single marriage, but you do need to keep your marriage hot. You do need to keep your spouse sacred to you. Mm-hmm. You do need to dream together. You do need to be able to have empathy and communication. So there's about 5 things right there that you could say across the board every marriage needs to have a smoke alarm for.
Right.
So that if those things start to lose their energy because the battery is being drained,
oh, that's good.
then we need to do a checkup on that. You need to do a yearly maintenance checkup on those things. And then if the battery starts to beep a little bit, if your spouse starts to beep at you a little bit and says, "Hey, you're never doing this anymore. We were doing really good in this area. How come this has slipped?" Don't get upset with that.
Right.
Don't think, "Oh, you're so annoying." No, thanks for bringing that to our attention, because that is an important thing that we've decided was a priority in our marriage. And we do want to take some time to step back and evaluate that and check that battery.
Very good.
And I think that's how this really connects to marriage.
Oh, absolutely. But the problem is, it's kind of like how we do our maintenance on our batteries, kind of how we do maintenance on our marriage most of the time. And that creates a lot of problems. So just kind of think about it for a moment. In the smoke alarm scenario, let's say you're laying there in bed and the alarm just goes off. And you jump up and you're scared. I mean, at first,
because your first thing is
whoa,
like,
where did that come from? So what you're going to do is you're going to gather the wife and kids, or if it's the wife, you can grab the husband and kids. Hopefully you all remember us. And then you're going to, get out of there and be in safety. But just think for a moment, what if you heard the alarm go off and you got up and you just went in and unplugged the battery? You smelled a little smoke, but you thought, hey, it's probably no big deal. And you just went back to bed.
Stephanie's just cooking.
Stephanie's just cooking at 3 a.m. I don't know why she didn't do it at 5, but No. So you just go back to bed, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in deep weeds.
Because you didn't listen
Listen to the warning.
to the warning. You decided to discount that and brush it off.
Right. So by ignoring the problem, what happens? The problem grows.
Yeah. And it engulfs you.
And it totally engulfs you. So that's where we got to be, really aware in our marriages as far as don't be afraid to say, we need to talk about this and bring each other in. That's the whole point of what we talk with Pillow Talk is, we believe that we can end frustration through better communication. So learning to talk about those things before they become, just a blaze and engulf the whole marriage. Because it's really easy to sit back and just ignore that problem
when it's small.
When it's small, because you're just like, oh, that's just Stephanie being Stephanie. That's how she is. I don't know why she's always nagging me, but I'm just going to ignore it. It'll go away. Well, it's not going to go away if she doesn't realize that what she takes as communication, I'm taking as nagging, or vice versa. So it becomes really important that you sit down and just say, hey, we need to have that talk now. And another thing about having the talk early is, before it engulfs everything, your conversation will be much more tame,
tempered,
and tempered. You always use such good words. But it'll become much more tempered in the early stages, and it's going to be. And that don't mean that you won't get aggravated a little bit. That all it means is that you'll be able to have the conversation without the complete blow up. And you need to do it very intentional and at the right time, because if someone's a huge sports fan like I used to be, where all you did was watch, the NFL all day Sunday during the NFL game probably ain't the time when the Dallas Cowboys are on the 2-yard line to say, hey, we need to have a talk. Okay, now this year you don't have to worry about that. Dallas is never on the 2-yard line. But, back in the good old days, they were there a lot. Yeah. So it's just learning to use a little common sense and
there's some courtesy involved in this. I mean, just because you're feeling wounded, if I'm feeling wounded and unseen, probably I'm not, but if I try to manipulate that during something that he truly enjoys, it's really going to escalate that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not, I'm going to be unseen because he's going to see me, but he's going to have fire shooting out his ears because he's like, why didn't you talk about this at 11 o'clock this morning?
Or you bring the frustration of the game or of
exactly.
your day.
That's good,
You might be at work and just coming home, and the first thing is like Stephanie works in the office. Well, when she first walks out of the office, isn't the best time for me to say, hey, we need to have a conversation. Or, hey, I'm not real good at being politically correct like that. I'm not going to say we're going to need to have a conversation. I'm going to say more like, why did you do this? Or why did you say that? Or I don't like the way you said that. So that's something I'm working on. But it's, and as guys, you probably have a little bit of that sometimes yourself too. And maybe females do the same. I don't know. Stephanie's not really bad about that. She's more of the, let's discuss this. Hey, we're going to have to talk about this. We're going to set aside some time. So
making appointments is a really good way to do that.
Absolutely.
Because you come into it with an expectation of what that time is going to be together, and it's not. It gives you a chance to cool down. Or another key there too, though, is if I'm coming to him and saying, hey, we need to talk this Sunday, so we need to be sure and set down a time, I don't leave it at that. I'm going to say, listen, we've had some things come up in our finances. There's some misconnects here. We need to talk about this and get this straight. So he's not thinking, what the heck is going on? So you don't spend a whole week with this thing boiling over trying to figure out what did I do wrong, and it's not really anything big. It just requires some conversation and some uninterrupted time. Does that make sense? So when you have those times that you sit down to replace that battery or to reevaluate what that alarm is telling you, do it with a lot of consciousness and a lot of courtesy for your spouse in that, and you'll find that you're going to make a lot more progress
I think it's really
than
good.
just jumping in there and just having your way and just throwing it out there so you can get it off your chest.
So as you can see, smoke alarm driver. Hey, Sean, welcome. I thought you all were in Colorado, man.
Are you still
up there? And next time you go without me, you got a lot of problems. And if you don't schedule it in, then it's just like, and even if you do schedule it in, let's say this, I can schedule to change the batteries in the smoke alarm on a certain day, and I can promise you that day something I would rather do is going to come up. Okay, and that's going to be the same thing whenever you schedule in this conversation that if something we need to deal with. Something else will pop up that sounds better, but it's not going to be more relevant.
Yeah, it's got to be a priority. And that's why it's important to have those 4 or 5 things as a couple. We've talked about core values before, but know the things in your marriage that you know are go-to priorities so that your spouse knows, yeah, we've already agreed this is a priority. So if it's something completely new and off-center from that, then that's where you say, this isn't something we've talked about, but there's something that's come up that I think we need to evaluate. And it's just having that kind of conversation and just being aware of that's been extremely helpful for us, I think, is just not.
And it can, and even smoke alarms can just be the not recognize what your other spouse, or what your spouse is going through. Your other spouse, like you got multiple.
That empathy we talked about last week.
We are not into that.
No, we're not swingers.
So, but
what
you do need to show some empathy. If Stephanie comes out of the office, it's just understanding that and just.
Because 6 o'clock is brutal. That is a brutal time period. The last 2 hours of my job is always the most brutal of my day.
And it comes right in at dinner time and, trying to get things organized for the next day. It comes in, so right then is not the time. And what we found out, what works really good for us is making sure that we do our conversation usually on the weekend.
Yeah.
We're both in relaxation mode. We usually do it in the morning over a cup of coffee, and it's not even like we gather around the table. Usually I'm up an hour or two before she is, so I'm sitting there, sometimes more. And so I'm sitting there drinking my coffee or whatever. She gets her Bible and stuff, and she comes out. And it's amazing how many times we don't even open up the book or the Bible that we're, came to sit down
because
for.
We're geared for that. We just kind of
in.
naturally flow into that. It's kind of become a habit, and so it's like it helps us through the week. Our consciousness allows the unconscious alarms to kind of be okay for a few days because we know we're going to have that time. And if we're going to be busy and know that we don't have that time, then we're very intentional about saying.
Or for something really big that needs to be handled now. There's always those. Yeah,
sure.
Occasionally there is a fire on the stove. Okay. You don't get to wait till the weekend to put the stove fire out.
No.
All right. Now, if the fire is the pilot light, now we can wait just a little bit because all it's going to do is cause a little extra heat. So you just say, let's don't add to that. Let's don't put wood on the fire.
Yeah.
So anyway, so hopefully that makes sense to you. Hopefully you can start trying to recognize when you're having those little flames that could burst into a bigger fire, and that you'll deal with them quick, and just learn to do it with the empathy like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. That's very important. So do you have anything else you want to add?
My grandma always used to say, don't you love when you can say that stuff?
Yeah.
She always said, Stephanie, a stitch in time will save 9. And I always didn't really understand that as a kid, but it's so true. If I'll just do the stitch today instead of waiting for 9 more to unravel, I'm not going to have near as much of a job or a project.
That's good.
Than if I just take care of it. And we're so bad about that because we think, well, it's not that big a deal. We'll just throw it to the side. But then you look up and you've got a huge pile of sewing to do because you've let everything come unstitched. So don't let your marriage come unstitched. Take care of the stitches as they unravel one at a time.
Very good. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you would, hit the like button, share. You can go over to our YouTube channel. You can like us over there and hit notifications, and that's why if you miss one of these, it'll at least send you a notification when we upload it to that. Hey Linda, how are you tonight? So, but yeah, just man, we just can't thank y'all enough for how much you've been diligent
support,
and the support, and it's just been amazing.
It makes it fun. It makes it fun when you feel like you've got a consistent community out there that you're getting to.
So far, back-to-back weeks, we've had 1,600 and 1,300 views, and that's you guys being willing to share it.
Thank you so much.
And apparently you talk about it.
Yeah. You're part of the impact.
And so it's awesome. So till the next Pillow Talk, we will say goodbye, and we will see you next Monday night, 7 o'clock, same place. Have a great time in Colorado, Sean, and drive safe getting back. We'll see y'all there.